So good day everyone, especially to our teacher, Ma'am Jocelyn. So for today's video, I am going to discuss about the given topic and give you a summarization about the said topic, which is the side of the first mass. So before anything else, I would like to introduce to you myself first. By the way, I am Gante Cristyl from BSc Section A, first year. So let's start. So the side of the first mass. The first documented Catholic Mass in the Philippines was held on March 31, 1521, an Easter Sunday by Father Pedro de Valderrama of Ferdinand Magellan's expedition. It was referred to the journals of Antonio Pigafetta as Mazwa. Historians and the government believed that the first mass in the Philippines was held in Limasawa, southern Leyte. However, till the 19th century, some of historians still maintained to believe who assert that the first mass was held at Masao, Butuan. According to the NHCP, or National Historical Commission of the Philippines, was agreed for not sufficient and not enough of evidences to present and decline how and where the first mass was held. Lag of Francisco Alvo. On March 16, 1521, as they sailed in the western liquors from Landrones, today Marianne Island, as they saw land towards northwest, but they didn't land there. Its name as Yunogan. As they lived there, they went in a small island called Soloan, which is part of the Samar. They sailed westward to an island of Gada, the took supply of wood and water. They sailed towards west to a large island called Silani, now what we call is Leyte. When they entered canal between two islands, which was called Subu and now Cebu, and the other was Matan, now Mactan. Diary of Antonio Pigafetta. Antonio Pigafetta was a famous Italian traveler who studied navigation. He joined the Portuguese trip to Malacca Island. He has the most complete account of Magellan expedition, entitled Primo Viaggio Intorno al Mondo, First Voyage Around the World. On April 7, 1521, they landed in Cebu. On March 16, 1521, there was a highland named Zamal. On March 17, 1521, they landed on an inhabited island or known as Homono, Homonhon, which referred to as watering place of good signs, the place of abundance in gold. They stayed there 8 days from March 17 to 25, 1521. They left the island on March 25, 1521 and changed the routes toward west-southwest between 4 islands, namely Sinalo, Inonghan, Ibuson, and Albarin. On March 28, 1521, there is an island. It is named as Mazawa, which is 25 leagues from the Aquada. On April 4, 1521, they left Mazawa bound for Cebu and guided by their king, who sailed on his own boat. All throughout, it took them past 5 islands, namely Sailon, Bohol, Camighan, Baybay, and Gatighan. On April 7, they entered the harbor of Zubu, which is Cebu. It takes them 3 days to negotiate from Mazawa northwards to the Camotes Islands. Blood impact. The island sovereign ruler was Raja Colombo. Magellan befriended the Raja together with his brother Raja Shago of Butuan. In Southeast Asia, to sell friendship with a blood compact. The Malayan term for it, kasi-kasi, the new friends performed the ritual. This was the first recorded blood compact between Filipinos and Spaniards. Replica of the marker unveiled in Limasawa on March 31, 1951. On March 31, 1521, Easter Sunday, Magellan ordered a mass to celebrate which was officiated by the Father Pedro Valderrama near the shores of the island. The first mass marked the birth of the Roman Catholicism in the Philippines. The first natives was Colombo and Siao in archipelago. Pigafetta mentioned about a mass held on Palm Sunday, April 1, 1520. Gomez observed Rigafita had written about the said mass and two things. They are both held in shores and there are the Filipinos natives present. Planting of the cross. Magellan then claimed sovereignty of the island. Francisco Albo said that he did not mention about the first mass in the Philippines, but only the planting of the cross. On June 19, 1960, Republic Act No. 2733, known as the Limasawa Law, was enacted without executive approval on June 19, 1960. The legislative fiat declared the site in Magallanes, Limasawa Island in the province of Leyte, where the first mass in the Philippines. In 1984, Imelda Marcos had a multi-million pesos shrine of the first Holy Mass built, made of the steel, bricks, and polished concrete. Another shrine was inaugurated in 2005. Limasawa celebrates the historic and religious coming of the Spaniards every March 31 with a cultural presentation and anniversary program dubbed as Sinugdan, means beginning. So that's all for our topic for today's video, and I hope you have a lot of knowledge to gain. Thank you.
So good day, my topic is all about the relevance of Magellan's circumnavigation around the world. So the first European to navigate the world was Ferdinand Magellan, a Portuguese sailing for Spain whose expedition eventually completed the first circumnavigation of the world. The Spanish expedition, the Spice Island set sail with 5 ships in 1519, led by Ferdinand Magellan. The journey was complete in 1522. Ferdinand Magellan set off from Spain 500 years ago on an epoch-making voyage to sail all the way around the globe from the first time. By constantly hiding the west, they managed to circumnavigation the globe for the first time, making watershed in the history of navigation, being the first to traverse the Sea of the South from east to west. He demonstrated braveness to face the challenges posed by world navigation. Magellan's voyage was a turning point in history, as unique as the first manned journey into outer space and The later moon landings, said NASA scientist Alan Stern, leader of its new horizontal interplanetary space probe. His ambition expedition proved that the globe could be circled by the sea and that the world was much larger than had previously been imaged. Their voyage also proved the idea that Earth is spherical. The circumnavigation complete by Magellan's expedition thus confirmed the conception of the world as a globe. Magellan's voyage rewrite the maps and geography books. He was the first to discover the traits which now bears his name, linking the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean at the tip of South America. His greatest feat of the history of navigation was negotiating these straits, of which there were no maps and those existence was vaguely rumored. The voyage transformed humans' own conceptions of their place in this world. It was not just geography and anthropology. It shows something philosophical. Before Magellan, people did not really know that they did not know how the world was connected or how big it was. The first recorded circumnavigation had important political, economic, and scientific consequences. Spain calculated the total circumference of the globe from the first time and determined that the Pacific was much wider than previously guessed, meaning that they owned some of the Pacific island as as demarcated by the Treaty of Tordesillas. Spain took control of the Philippines and began exploration of the East Pacific. Magellan voyage also opened the door for trade. By the 1600 Spain territories produced most of the world's silver and around a third of it ended up in China through trade. This would have lasting effect of global strategy and economics and propel Spain to the high of Europea, European power. The voyage also contribute to human knowledge of the universe and was marked the worlds of space exploration and astronomy of this day. While crossing the Magellan Strait, the explorer and his crew observed two galaxies visible to the naked eye from the southern hemisphere, now known as the Magellantic Clouds. Some recently designed area of the surface of Mars have been given the same name that Magellan gave to part of South America, with Berggrens help. Again, telescope being developed, the China was also bear the explorer's name. He also created the Magellan route as the trail of the first voyage around the world. It is a universal and global route because it its itinerary is developed through the main ocean and all the continents in the both planet. The Magellan route is the way traced by the nautical expedition made by the first world circumnavigation in the dawning of the 16th century. This path was organized and led by one of the most extraordinary explorer and sailor ever. Ferdinand Magellan who for the first time placed the maps not only in a new and Menem's oceans, which was then been fully navigated for the first time, but also the strait was connected to the two big ocean in planet, the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. This route was used during 4th centuries to centuries to connect the east and west through the sea since it was the only possible route used by ship until the contribution of the Panama Canal is the 20th century. The valuable contribution of this universal route of the human history can be seen not only in the voyage itself but also in the historical background of the voyage and in the consequences it had in the development of several civilizations, such as extraordinary journey cannot be understood without having in mind a historical moment shared by Portugal and Spanish. Both were acutely decided to research and achieve knowledge about nautical technology, cartography, and astronomy, as well as other fields related to the exploration of the oceans. Since the beginning of the 16th century, the navigation route designed by Magellan and these sailors during the first circumnavigation around the world was geographical and symbolically link different cultures and civilizations, proving exchanges and achievement. In some, Magellan route represent the confirmation of the Earth. Groundness is at the origins of the concept of globalism and universality of knowledge. Thanks to the discovery of the Strait of Magellan and the crossing of the Pacific Ocean, new model of expansions, commercial and economic, were well known, involving country from all continents. This model survived today and it's called globalization. The global expansion of scientific and technological knowledge also took place as never before. Voyage also the way of Spanish rule were in our country and introduced Christianity to our island. While attempting to find the, the Spice Island by circumnavigating the globe, Magellan instead found himself in the Philippines. Magellan and his crew built the built relationship with the natives and attempted to win them over the Christianity. Raha Humabon and his wife were baptized with hundreds of their subjects following suit. Magellan's missionary effort were the first time Christianity was approached in the Philippines and Catholicism remains the most widely practiced religion in the Philippines. Filipino faithful still reserve the Santo Niño icon that Magellan presented to Queen Johanna. The Battle of the Mactan, during which Magellan was defeated by Lapu-Lapu, remains embedded in the national constitutionist Filipino regard Lapu-Lapu as their first national hero who defended their store from foreign invaders. Generation passed down rich oral history and dance traditions recount the story of the Battle of Mactan and tells about the Santo Niño icon. Magellan's quest to find a western route to the Spice Island helped shape the history and culture of the Philippine Islands and remain embedded in the national consciousness. Magellan's emotional intelligence during this event show at the same time his ability for self-restraint and great authority, and most importantly, when and how to use each one. This is a valuable lesson of empathy, leadership, strength, and soft power. Magellan achieved was a landmark of the history explorations still held by his modern day.
Good day, ma'am. My name is Marianne Capili from BSc 1A. Today, I will be discuss about Cavite Mutiny. What happened in the Cavite Mutiny? In 1872 is a historic year of two events. First is the Cavite Mutiny, which is a major factor in awakening of nationalism among the Filipinos. Second is the martyrdom of the three martyr priests in the persons of Father Mariano Gomez, Father Jose Burgos, and Father Jacinto Zamora or Gomborza. The Cavite Mutiny is one of the most significant historical accounts in the Philippine history. It describes the uprising of the Filipino troops and workers at the Cavite arsenal due to the removal of the privileges. First is exemption from the tribute and exemption from forced labor. Under the exemption from the tribute is taxation. Filipinos paid taxes to Spain. Taxation has three types. First is tribute or tributo. The Filipinos were compelled to pay tribute called tributo to the colonial government. The tribute was imposed as a sign of the Filipinos' loyalty to the King of Spain. To those who paid tribute were individuals between 16 to 60 years old. Others form of payment are gold, chicken, textile, cotton, and rice. The second is cedula, personal identification paper. In 1884, tribute was nullified and replaced by the cedula. The cedula was a certificate identifying the taxpayer. Third is diezmos prediales or tites. The diezmos prediales was a tax consisting of 1/10 of the produce of one's land. Exemption from forced labor. All male Filipinos from 18 to 60 years of age were required to give their free labor, called polo, to the government. This labor was for 40 days a year, reduced to 15 days in 1884. The mutiny was quickly cluttered. Governor Rafael D. Izquierdo magnified the incident and used it as an excuse to clamp down on those Filipinos who had been calling for governmental reform. Tragically, the harsh reaction of the Spanish authorities served ultimately to promote the nationalist cause. A number of Filipino intellectuals were seized and accused of complicity with the mutineers. After a brief trial, the three priests Jose Burgos, Jacinto Zamora, and Mariano Gomez were publicly executed. Izquierdo used the mutiny to implicate Gomborza and other notable Filipinos known for their liberal leanings. Prominent Filipinos such as priests, professionals, and businessmen were arrested on flimsy and trumped-up charges and sentenced to prison, death, or exile. These include Joaquin Pardo de Tavera, Jose Basa, and Antonio M. Regidor. It was said that the Cavite mutineers got their cue from Manila when they saw and heard fireworks across the Manila Bay, which was really a celebration of the feast of the Lady of Loreto in Sampaloc.
Hello, have a pleasure to each one of you. So, this video will talk about the history and its importance. So, let's begin this discussion. So, first, what really is history and how it shaped us or its importance? So, according from the source that I have searched in the internet, so I found that history is one of the most important academic pursuit of any child's education. So, history is shaped by a list of chronological events. So remember, history must be in chronological events. In short, it must be compiled through details by details from what is from the beginning to the end. So there mustn't be any skip informative details because it is very important to know include all the details as history largely help us today from all aspects of our lives, including the economic, political, governmental, personal, cultural, and environmental, and many other aspects of our life. Through history, we can learn how past societies, ideologies, and government cultures and technologies were built, how they operated, and how they have changed. The rich history of the world helps us to paint a detailed picture of where we stand today. So, as what I have said, that history largely helps us in all aspects of our lives because it helps us to stand where we are today because history not only helps the our aspects of our life but also through history we can learn about what really happened and during the past times, what really happened and how it shaped us today. So history greatly help us in our life. What's more, that history also encourages a deeper understanding of the events, people, places in the prehistoric era so that the people through generations can be able to define and understand the importance of history as it helps us today's generation that can be applied to our daily living, including personal, political, economical, environmental, cultural, governmental, and many theoretical knowledge and field of expertise. So let me elaborate the history. So let's have an example. So, like for example, the history about the expedition led by Ferdinand Magellan back then. Let's have a short review about the history of Ferdinand Magellan. So, by this way, we can understand how history is really important in all aspects of our life. So let's begin. So it was the first to successfully circumnavigate the world, making him one of the most influential explorers in history. So in 1517, he offered his services to the Spanish government after quarreling with King Manuel of Portugal over his pension. So as a result, King Charles I of Spain, known as Charles V of the Holy Roman Empire, decided to recruit Magellan for a new expedition to the East Indies. So a couple of decades earlier, Spain and Portugal agreed to divide up the world into two spheres of influence. So, however, the Spanish quickly became jealous of Portugal's discoveries in Southeast Asia, especially the Indonesian Spice Island. Being the clever man that Magellan was, he proposed that a Spanish expedition sail westward through South America in the hopes of stumbling upon the treasured Spice Islands. So a battle broke out on the beach, and a poison-tipped arrow struck Magellan. So Magellan was being shot. But his Spanish comrades hastily retreated and left their captain to die on the beach. So the expedition carried on sailing the Spice Islands with only one of the original 5 ships making it back to Spain. So imagine if there is no history or history ceased to exist, it would be left worthless and forgotten our heroes' deeds during the past of the ancient times. And even our Filipino heroes has existed through generations with their valuable history of the contribution of the Philippines that makes us what we are today. And those deeds cause us to exist. So that is why history is of utmost importance as it fills us with knowledge and wisdom in every aspects of our lives. So those heroes like for example Jose Rizal, Emilio Aguinaldo, and other Filipino heroes that greatly help help what we are today. So that is why history is very important because it tackles the important events of the past. So another, history gave us the tools to analyze and explain problems in the past. It positions us to see patterns that might how do we call that, otherwise be invisible in the present, thus provide a crucial perspective for understanding current and the future problems. So remember that history is very important, and knowing the importance or the essence of the history as it provides us more rounded, improved ability to think critically, something we can take in the rest of our livings, and it helps countless people to understand the present events. So, as far as I know, according from the research that I have gained. So, history is where we learn about how great institutions are formed, how they've contributed to where we are today. So, through history, it helps us to enhance and broaden our ideas and understanding towards the past and present and how we can use it to apply into our life. So, and how we will make use of this as a sharpener to our weapon to make our life more meaningful. So just always remember that history not only helps us personally, but for me it helps us in all our aspects of our lives. As what we can see today, as what we know, as how long or how far or how deep we know about the world is based on the history. Because of the history, we've gained the knowledge about the revolution of our era. So I think that would be all about my discussion on what is history and its importance. So I guess I guess that all of us knew that what history and how we can apply it to our life and how it is shape us and how history is important to our life, um, not only in personal but also for political, governmental, cultural, environmental. So I can suggest that learning history is not that boring. History makes us what we are today, makes us how great we are today, and 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 shape us of what we are today. So, thank you.